Aloha and welcome to Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. We broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock here in the Think Tech studios in downtown Honolulu in the beautiful state of Hawaii. This show is about positive stories of business in Hawaii. We try to emphasize how people become successful and how they make it work here. Today, we've got the honor of having a very special guest from the University of Hawaii system, John Morton. He heads up the community college structure within the University of Hawaii statewide. John, thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here, Reg.
Our audience may not know too much about you. Could you give us a little background story on you?
And myself? Sure.
Yeah.
I've actually been with the community colleges here in Hawaii it'll be 46 years come August. I grew up in Illinois, was fortunate enough that a young woman from Hawaii came to the University of Illinois to school. We met, got married, came back.
And she brought you home.
Accidentally. We were just visiting her parents and we're supposed to go back to start my PhD in Chicago and never went back. Still on that vacation.
Well, in addition to having a nice bride with you, you also got to come to some weather that was maybe a little bit better than Chicago.
A lot of differences, but I came in at a time when Leeward Community College was pretty much just getting started. It was only a couple of years old. So I started teaching chemistry and political science.
Wow,
they needed a half-time in each, and I happened to have degrees in both, and so I guess it was just fate.
Very good. Well, I was going to say interesting combination, but because of the double degree, I guess you were qualified for it. Very good.
Yeah, it was a good time, and basically I taught for a while, eventually moved into administration, spent 21 years heading up Kapi'olani Community College when we built that campus up by Diamond Head, and then the last 11 as head of the system of 7 community colleges within the university.
Well, you've had a great career.
It's been fun. It really has been fun.
I early in my career, when I first started my practice, it was back in 1991, I had just left the Bank of Hawaii. And I actually taught at the business college at UH and also did some courses out at KCC. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure, you might have been there at that time.
I was there from about 84 till, 2005. So
well, it's a great school. And it's a great way for people to get into it. Now, KCC kind of focused a little bit more on the business side of things, or?
On Oahu, the community colleges do sort of divide up the programs a little bit. So KCC historically came out of a technical school that had business, health, and culinary arts, hospitality.
Yep.
And you can still see that in the bones, but it's become much more than that. So.
Well, and it's a perfect location for particularly the visitor industry and the culinary arts.
Right there near Waikiki,
oh,
exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so did you help develop those programs?
The programs were there, but obviously as we moved way back then from being a tiny little carve-out by McKinley High School to that brand new campus, we had the opportunity to really pick which programs we wanted to emphasize and strengthen, and certainly culinary arts was one of those.
Very good. Well, they've done a super job. From my own personal experience, they've got quite a reputation for having a great culinary program out there.
We're very proud that not too many years ago, the culinary team was the national champions. So
very good.
That is quite an honor.
Well, and that helps attract other people from other states and countries too, wouldn't it?
And we do attract for both hospitality and culinary students from Japan, Korea, other parts of Asia, and they actually become part of those culinary competition teams.
Very good. So. Now, does that, when they come in to do this at the KCC campus, and for any campus for that matter, but just using KCC as an example, do they go in there for a couple years, get their degree or do their program, and do they transfer to Manoa, or do they go out and start a career, or how does that work?
Well, if they're coming from a foreign country, then of course they're here on a student visa. So they would either go on to additional work or have to go back home before coming back. But for the local students, it's either. It's both. We have students who come to the community colleges with the express intention of going on to get a baccalaureate program, and they do that both within the university system but also outside the university system. Others They need to be able to go to work, and they take the skills that they're getting from the community colleges and enter the workforce. A lot of those students come back.
There you go.
You know, and they basically realize at some point, okay, I got my start, I need to move up, and to do that, I need a little bit more education.
Very good. And I guess there's never any issues. I know some of the remedial type classes probably won't transfer, but most of the classes at the community college system does transfer to a four-year institution.
One of the great things about Hawaii and Hawaii's University of Hawaii system, including the community colleges, is we're part of the university. We're not a separate set of institutions trying to negotiate boundaries and agreements. And so yes, the courses is, pretty much transfer. If there's a program, general education, same course, everything counts.
Very good.
Makes it a lot easier for students.
It does. And, speaking from my own personal experience, I had a son that went to community college on the mainland. And we had some challenges trying to make sure that we were able to transfer all those credits over here for them to be counted. And on the other hand, my youngest son went to KCC for 2 years, and we had no real issues with that.
That's good to hear.
made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
That's good. But before we get into the details and the mechanics of what the campuses do
Right.
and how they, you've mentioned that it's part of the university system, so it's all kind of integrated together and it works together. Could you just spend a minute about what your role is and how does the community colleges all fit into the overall picture of what's going on out at Manoa?
There are 7 community colleges that make up the community college system, and we sort of describe ourselves as a system within the system. So we have 4 campuses here on Oahu, and then campuses on Kauai, Maui, and the Big Island. And they have multiple locations as well. So the role of the community colleges essentially is to provide an access point. Oftentimes for people who otherwise wouldn't have thought they could or should go on to take advantage of higher education. Now that access might be access to a particular set of skills and certificates that they can use in employment. Right. So we have programs, that are obviously direct employment programs in auto mechanics or computer engineering that go straight into the workforce, nursing. But other programs that they recognized what they're doing is taking the first 2 years of what will eventually be a baccalaureate program. And the students can move back and forth between that. They may come to us with one intention, find out, what, I can really do this and I like doing it. So I'm going to go on and transfer. More recently, we've also been opening up with a great partnership with UH West Oahu, another university campus, so that students who complete a degree in maybe a technical field have a pathway to get additional managerial skills so they can move up in their company by getting an applied baccalaureate from UH West Oahu. And we have those arrangements in now probably about 12 or 13 of our technical programs. And so it's not just the traditional liberal arts transfer.
So you work closely together with the businesses to help design the program and define what it is that would be most useful for them?
If we're doing our job well, that's exactly what we need to be doing, because community colleges are very focused on Hawaii's workforce. What does it take for someone to be successful in that workforce? What does it take for us to make sure our product, the student graduate, is not something that a business says, well, you got your degree, but now I got to train you again. We want to be able to have that lined up well. We also want to be able to anticipate what the employment needs are likely to be in the state going forward. And we're not as good at that yet as we want to be. We're doing some work. Even now, we have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks with the banking industry about what are all the jobs. And these are the banking officials getting together with us to help us understand what are the pathways, what are the different jobs, not just community college jobs, but others, so we can anticipate, advise if there's a need for a program. We talk about the fact that one of the ones we really missed were the cybersecurity jobs in the state.
Yes.
Literally thousands of jobs, good paying jobs that emerged faster than we perhaps thought about it.
Able to ramp up for it.
And so people were having to recruit in, and we want those jobs to be available locally. So we're catching up. I mean, we're doing very well at being able to do that now, but it sort of taught us that we also need to be able to anticipate
Right.
far more than what we were in the past. So we're working on doing that as well.
And to be able to help with a smooth transition, I mean, it would be nice to be able to have the students, the graduates from the program, trained well enough that they can easily slide right into a nice paying job without any retraining or maybe some orientation to the culture, but, company culture, but.
Right.
I guess that's the goal.
You absolutely want to be sure that the knowledge and skills and abilities that are coming out with our graduates have a match with what local industry needs.
Now, you mentioned cybersecurity. Is there anything in place now that, maybe in a sense the ship has sailed, but there's still a demand for that?
No, I don't actually think the ship has sailed, because many of those people who've been brought in to fill that immediate need, they don't stay in Hawaii.
That is true.
They go back. And so we want to be sure that we essentially have the import substitution with locally trained. So there are programs now, active programs, going on as early as the high school to get students interested. There are now community college programs. They lead to baccalaureate programs. So at any level that people are interested in moving into the cybersecurity field, you can do it within the university. We also target people who are out there working, may have gotten their IT degree 10, 15 years ago, and with the right kind of retraining, the right kind of certificate, could be able to advance in a different aspect of the field.
And I would think that that's the exact type of industry that we would want to develop here in Hawaii. And it's one that you can do cybersecurity work here for anywhere in the world.
That's correct. Yeah.
So it's a nice, clean job. It doesn't take a lot of resources. It's intellectual. It's high paying.
And there's a lot of student interest. I mean, so it was our job to make sure that those pathways exist.
Very good. So I would like to think that that is a focus, and we're moving in that direction.
There are a lot of sort of trying to say, what do we want Hawaii's economy to be looking like? Tourism and hospitality is going to continue to be an important part of that. But what else? We know that healthcare is, a huge part of the economy. But we want that innovation economy out there, the people who can, create jobs, can do work as you can in the digital world from wherever, but do it here. It might be in cybersecurity, it might be in creative, media. So we're looking at that. There's a lot of interest from students in any science and technology and engineering math. It's our fastest growing student area.
That's good to know.
So that's, it's fantastic, because what we're attracting as community colleges are the students who wouldn't otherwise enter those fields.
Right.
So you're seeing Native Hawaiian students and Filipino students and women and older students moving into the STEM
A very broad
arrangements.
appeal.
Absolutely.
We need to take a quick break. We're going to come right back, but I want to hold that thought for a second and kind of come back and talk a little bit more about how we can get the students involved in both the trade side and the academia side.
Sure.
So, this is Reg Baker, Business in Hawaii. We're talking with the boss of the community college system here in Hawaii for the University of Hawaii. We'll be right back in about a minute.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, which streams live on thinktechhawaii.com, uploads to youtube.com, and broadcasts on cable OC16 and Alelo 54. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Hi, I'm Chris Leatham here with Think Tech Hawaii, and I invite you to watch my show, The Economy and You, each Wednesday at 3 o'clock here in Hawaii on OC16. We look forward to seeing you. Aloha.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I'm fortunate to be able to host Sustainable Hawaii at thinktechhawaii.com. I hope you'll join in with us every Tuesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. to see the interesting people we have to share with you their information. Aloha.
Welcome back. This is Reg Baker, Business in Hawaii. We're talking with John Morton, who's the Vice President of Community Colleges for the University of Hawaii. If you have any questions and you'd like to call in, the number that you can call is 415-871-2600. 888-244-2474. John, again, it's great to have you. We were just talking a little bit about the digital world and the digital training and the opportunities that are there. And I think I heard you say that it was one of the fastest growing areas at the university.
Certainly in terms of student interest, absolutely a lot of interest in cybersecurity, information technology, but actually STEM jobs in general. So another example of why it's valuable for community colleges to be part of the university. We have a degree that sort of prepares students if they're going to move on into the science and engineering fields. The student finishes that degree in the community colleges here, they're guaranteed admission to any of the engineering programs at Manoa.
Wow.
And so we've got hundreds of students that are basically completing that and on their way to the Manoa campus engineering program. So it is a pathway, and that's what we really want.
Well, and that's that can be very powerful for some people. I know that, you know, when I got out of the military, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I needed to explore different options, and Honolulu Community College was one of those options. And so I ended up going there for a couple of years, and it was for me at the time, a low-cost way of exploring all that was out there and what I was going to be able to do, and it was very useful, very valuable to me. And I have 3 sons, I mentioned earlier, that also went through the community college process. And it's, for me and for them, it was a low-cost option to get to explore all the different courses that they might take and decide on a career. Is that still the case today?
You know, I mentioned that one of the real roles that the community colleges play in higher education is that access. And there are several elements to the access. One of them is to keep the cost low so that you don't have people thinking, I can't go because I can't afford it. And college is so expensive. You hear all the discussions about student debt and high cost of tuition. But the community colleges, by design, keep our tuition relatively low, and then with financial aid that's available if you've got need from the federal government, from the university itself, from private sources, from GI Bill or others, it's pretty likely that you can come to the community college largely free. You know, your national conversations about should community college education be free. And we've run some numbers here locally. Our tuition for a year is about $3,800 if you were full-time, and it's prorated on down if you can only come part-time. But if you figure out the cost of all that tuition and the books and the fees and the supplies and the transportation, we're within $2 million statewide of having 100% of that cost covered with grant money, not loans, grant money for people with need.
Now,
you know, so it's a very affordable way to get started on your higher
indeed.
education.
And for the audience, there's a big difference between loans and grants.
Yeah, you pay one back, you don't pay the other one back.
That's right.
You know.
Grants you don't pay back. So that's a great way to fund an education.
And as you mentioned, the classes are going to transfer, so it's the first 2 years of that 4-year degree.
And that's one direction the students can go through the community college access point, is to ultimately get your bachelorette or master's. But there's another option that they don't necessarily have to go that route.
No, not at all.
They can go another way.
Half of our students are probably not going that way. They're really targeting moving directly into the workforce. In some cases, there are very specific certifications they need to earn before they can do that. You cannot become a respiratory therapist without passing the licensure exams. But for many of them, it's not even the degree. We sometimes struggle to make them stay to finish the degree because they can go out, get employment, working, using the skills that they pick up within the community colleges in a whole range, about probably 30, 40 different technical fields that they could get certificates or degrees.
A lot of options.
A lot of options within the community colleges.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean just because you go the trade way and you get the certifications you need to get employed and you start working, you can always loop back and finish your academic.
Right, and that's what I was mentioning, that we're designing programs to do that, because we recognize that first job that you might get coming out of a technical program or with a set of technical skills is exactly what you need when you're young and getting started. But then later, when you've got a family and you want that house and you need a little bit more income, moving on up into higher levels within the company, you might need more education, and we don't want you to have to start over.
Right.
And so we want to build those pathways.
Well, and that higher education certainly comes in handy, because I think study after study has shown that if you get that bachelor's degree, you earn significantly more because of the potential that you've got.
Right. The numbers are interesting. It's true that any higher education, not just the bachelor's degree, any higher education results in higher lifetime earnings, but not just that. Better health, less likely to get unemployed during recessions. So there are a lot of very positive economic and social benefits to higher education. But there's no question that over the long run, the higher the education, the better off you're going to be. And so we want to make that possible and invite those people that are already out there. There's an amazing number of people in this state who've been to college, never earned degrees, but they've got some credits because either they had to go to work or family circumstances. And we want to make sure that there's also a way for them to come back in the system. Or if they're, in a job and they think, I really always wanted to do this, that there's also a way back for them.
And they may only be a few credits away from doing it.
They may only a few credits away. They're not that far from
Now,
being able to finish.
Let me ask you this, and maybe it's different by circumstance, but if somebody did go through and they are only 12 credits away or whatever, how long do those credits stay valid? How long can they keep?
Pretty much forever nowadays. I mean,
Wow.
there are no real limits. I mean, there's certain clearly technical areas where industry has changed, the information has changed, that it's probably in your best interest to repeat it. But in general, the answer is those credits are all still there, and just come on back and finish with us.
Well, we might have to have a conversation, because I went to 3 different graduate schools working in an MBA program, and I probably accumulated 24 or 30 hours, but they were different institutions and they were different times, and some of them were 10 years old, and I never finished. And if these things are still good, I might need to come back
You
and.
probably should. This idea that going to college is something you do when you're 19, 18, and then you finish, and then you go to work, and then that's it, is not the reality at all anymore. Students cycle through multiple institutions. We design it so they can take credits from more than one campus. So a student, you went to Honolulu Community College. If you were a Honolulu student, you could take a Kapi'olani class. You don't have to apply, you just take it.
Wow.
So it's all designed to make it as easy as possible for students to make progress toward that degree or to come back and finish the degree.
Well, and the university benefits, the student benefits, and in a direct sort of way, so does society, the community benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the community colleges there's a reason we're called community colleges. We want to be a part of and supportive of the kind of community we want Hawaii to be.
Right. So and let's just talk a little bit about the process. If somebody is contemplating going to college, whether they think they can or they can afford to, do you have counselors available at the community college level that can help go through this?
Sure. We've got lots of different ways that students can re-engage or engage with us. We start early for students who are taking the more traditional track, working with high schools and high school counselors and getting those students in. But if it's someone in the community who's just interested, easy to get online, and you'll get contacted, and we'll be in touch with you. And yes, there will be people to advise you and help you work through what are those pathways and how fast can we get this done.
Good. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I apologize if I do, but you said they can go online. Where online do they go? Do you recall what that?
If they went to just the hawaii.edu main page,
Okay.
just www.hawaii.edu, you'll see the entire university, but you'll see the community colleges right there front and
Okay.
center. Just click on the one of interest or UH community colleges altogether, and that will take you on that path.
Very good. And you know, some of the university, I know you can take courses, enroll in one, take courses in the other, and that's all great. But do the community colleges at all, like Kapiolani with the culinary and HCC, I know has a little bit more of the trade school,
technical, right.
aviation, and you know maybe the automobile or vehicle repair. They need to try to find what that area is that they focus on and plug into that area.
And so there would be people who would help them sort of work through, like, well, why do you think you're interested in this area? What is it? First of all, what do you understand about that area and why it might match you? But then what do you really know about yourself? So that part of career counseling or even exploration is certainly available within the community colleges.
Invaluable. I mean, sometimes they don't have that type of guidance at home. They have to go out and look for it, and whether that be in the high school or at the community college.
It is not uncommon for many of the students in community colleges to be the first in their families to ever go on to college. And so, yeah, they need to sort of get enculturated to what are the possibilities and how to navigate our systems as well.
And from my experience, I think going through the community college system is a little less intimidating than going to the big university at Manoa or someplace. That campus is huge. And I know HCC is getting bigger. KCC has always been a nice little campus. It's a little bit more comfortable environment for some students.
One of the things that we try to do within the community colleges is faculty focus on that teaching and learning. They do not have a responsibility to conduct research, so they've got the time to be able to devote it back to the students. And so, yeah, I think it helps the students in that transition.
That helps building relationships, and I would think that would help with retention and graduation rates, to have that relationship with them.
It's the thing that students talk about when they, you hear them at graduation speeches, how did I get here? And so oftentimes it is that key faculty member or the small class environment that allowed them to build relationships and friends and support systems to help them make it through.
That's great. And, that was one of my greatest joys is when I taught it at UH. Manoa Business School, and I really enjoyed the connection that I had with the students and being able to see the lights go on when they started understanding things. But we're at another break time, and so we're going to take another 60-second break, but we'll be right back. This is Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. We'll be back in about 60 seconds.
Aloha, this is Maria Mera, and I'm here to invite you to my bilingual show, Viva Hawaii on Think Tech Hawaii, every other Monday at 3 p.m. We're here to inform, motivate, and entertain you. Join us. Hola, soy María Mera y estoy aquí para invitaros a mi show bilingüe Viva Hawaii en Think Tech Hawaii cada 2 lunes a las 3 de la tarde. Estamos aquí para informaros, motivaros y entreteneros. Apuntaros.
Aloha, my name is Richard Emery, host of Condo Insider. More than a third of Hawaii's population live in some form of association, and our show is all about educating board members and owners about their responsibilities and obligations and providing solutions for a great association. You can watch me live on Thursdays, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. each week. Aloha.
Aloha, and welcome back to Business in Hawaii. I'm Reg Baker, and I'm talking with John Morton, who's the Vice President of Community Colleges for the University of Hawaii. John, we were just talking a little bit about how well things have been put together and working, and how the students can take advantage of it. It sounds like we've got a well-oiled machine in place right now.
Well, there's always places to make it work even better.
Well, and with that point, where do you see the community colleges going in the future?
Well, one of the things I think that we've got our eyes on, actually are heavily engaged in, is what role is digital learning going to take, online education. We probably have 25,000 registrations within the community colleges in online classes.
Wow.
And what it turns out is those are not students who are doing their education totally online. They're the same students that are attending classes face-to-face, and then maybe they can't get a class because it's not open or at the wrong time or conflicts with work. So it's a substitution not just for distance, but for time as well. And the students are pretty comfortable with the environment of being able to interact digitally, not just with a teacher, but with themselves. That sometimes early on when we started this work, I remember that we did our very first class and we were all concerned the students were not going to be able to see the faculty member. They actually didn't care. What they wanted, though, was the right to be able to talk with their fellow students that were
Get that collaboration.
Get that
going,
collaboration.
yeah.
And when you think about it, even in a face-to-face environment, that's often how learning takes place. You go to class, but it's you and your friends studying together that help you really understand the material and be able
That's
to.
right.
And that's what you need to sort of replicate. So our ability to do this well is how to figure out, well, what really contributes to learning, and how do we use the technology to make sure that that happens. And so I think that that's going to go on more and more. Beyond just online classes or degrees, more and more technology is making information available even for an in-person class that otherwise you had to go to get the lecture, to get the information. Now that information is readily available. And so it's changing the way faculty spend their time with the students, even in a face-to-face environment. That's new sometimes for the faculty as well as the student.
Well, and sometimes the faculty has a challenge
Yeah.
keeping up with the technology too. And I speak from my own experience that when I first started teaching, everything was book-based.
Right.
And all the homework was turned in,
Yeah.
and you had to grade it and put your comments on and send it back again. Over the 15 years that I taught, that changed to almost an online process
Yeah,
where
the
this-
course management systems where
Yep.
materials out there, grades are out there, interaction is out there. So yes, it is a different way of teaching and learning. And so we want to make sure that that works. And then some of the digital technologies are also just making possible learning that we couldn't otherwise do. You can learn welding now with simulated welders
Wow.
using basically devices as opposed to the hands-on, everything being the hands-on, and be able to have the faculty member judge the quality of your weld from the simulation tools. Nursing,
Wow, interesting.
a lot of simulation in nursing and other places. So,
Aviation too, I would imagine.
wherever you can imagine, you know, the digital tools being used, we can now use them in
Wow.
education.
And it's a much different learning. I guess the results are the same because they learn the knowledge, but the process of getting there has changed quite a bit.
And it's
may-
actually changed, the students themselves have changed. I mean, they're used to being able to get information right now. So if you tell them, well, wait and come to class and then we'll tell you, that just does not match the way they're,
No. They'll just go on Google and figure it out
Exactly.
themselves, you know, so.
yeah, I still remember early on in the Google years when my granddaughter at the time, about 6, said, Papa, you know, what is this? And I said, well, I don't know. Well, can't you Google it? You know, I mean, so yeah, there's an expectation that
Yep.
information's readily available, and so,
And that's part of what's so amazing to me is that in most ways that information is readily available. And it's fun to be able to have the access. I wish I had that technology when I was going through the learning process.
right, there's almost so much information that another skill is learning how to parse it, how to make sense out of it, how to use it.
Okay. Do you see the community college system offering more classes, but is it going to change at all in the sense of having more campuses or having bigger campuses, or what do you think?
I think, well, we've been growing. Pre-recession, we were at about 25,000 students. We jumped up to 34,000 during the recession, about a 40% jump. As the economy recovered, some of that has rolled back, but we're still around 30,000. You know, we've tried to run some numbers. My best sense of if we were doing our job as well as we would want to do it, reaching additional high school students, reaching additional adult learners, keeping our students with retention even better, we should be at about 40,000, I would think. But we can do much of that with the campuses we have. We just opened a campus in Kona, up above the airport. We had been in Kealakekua Shopping Center for a long time, but now that's the location.
So is that your own campus in there
Yep,
now?
yep.
Very good.
And
Congratulations.
we're also, for years, decades, we have been leasing space out in Waianae. We've now purchased a building and renovating it. So we're sort of looking at those community-based locations. We're looking at the real possibility of workplace-based programs. That large, Hilton Hawaiian Village has thousands of employees.
And
We
they're
imagine many of them need additional education. Do
constantly.
it on property.
There's a lot of retraining that would have to be done and new
Right.
hire training and, people get transferred into new positions. Yeah, that could be a big job all by itself.
So anyway, so we're looking for those sort of community-based opportunities as a way for us to expand.
And I guess in the current day with the digital capabilities that we have now, you don't need the big campuses anymore. You just, maybe the campuses can be relatively small, but you just got a lot of digital courses available, the remote or distance learning capabilities.
The community colleges on Kauai, Maui, and the one in Kona also play an interesting role as what we call university centers. So it's not just about the community college programs. It's when the university baccalaureate or master's degree, or in some cases even PhD programs, are delivered out by distance or remotely to those islands. The support for that is coming from that local community college. So it's another role for us to be playing as part of the University of Hawaii system that makes it possible for people in areas that they can't drive to the Manoa campus to be able to get access.
Or they might not have the high-speed internet connection that they need in order to get online, so maybe they can go down to
They
that
could,
center.
yeah.
and-
The university, now President Leisner, back then when he was CIO, was able to get a grant that basically gave us super high broadband capacity, connecting all of our campuses, sites, the DOE, state libraries. And so the bandwidth is there, and we just need to be able to take full advantage of it.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And it sounds like you've done well at taking advantage of it already. Where does the military fit into all this? Is there a military engagement that's taking place?
By policy, any military who's stationed in Hawaii or their dependents pay resident tuition. And if they're discharged here, that continues as long as they continue. So we do have quite a, enrollment from people that are in active duty military. We haven't done as much, but we're exploring about while they're in the military, maybe stationed in Okinawa or Japan, are there things we could be doing by distance from the University of Hawaii to serve them as they're deployed, not just when they're here. And, we're not as good at that yet. There are some mainland colleges that are very good at that, and so we're trying to find the right place. So I think there's more that we can be doing, and every campus is very committed to veterans and have veteran centers on campus. So those who are returning, not just necessarily stationed here in Hawaii, but coming back to Hawaii, will get the support that they need, the special support they need as veterans.
I guess at some point you might even explore having a presence on the bases itself, if that was
We
conducive.
have some classes that can be done on the bases. We do a lot of work at Pearl Harbor, but it's mostly targeting the contractors, and there are actually some pretty good paying jobs out in Pearl Harbor.
Well, as a matter of fact, my oldest son went through the apprentice program out at the shipyard
Yep.
and spent a lot of
That's
time getting his education with HCC to do that.
Yeah.
And he's doing very well right now.
Yes, we just ran a program for welders using, the aluminum welding techniques, and those jobs can pay, 70, 80,000, so yeah, they're living wage jobs by far.
Yeah. So I guess if there's anybody out there that's trying to figure out what their career is, going to a community college and doing some
A
exploring.
lot of options, a lot of support. We want them to be successful. They're successful, Hawaii's successful. That's what we're
Absolutely.
after.
Very good. And I guess Any final words or any thoughts that you'd like to leave with the audience?
Well, I really appreciate your talking about it. I'll just come back to that sense that I think all of us in the community colleges are really committed to the notion that community means something in our name. And we exist to help people take advantage of higher education and all the benefits that come to them, their family, and the community when they get that higher education. So they're all welcome.
Well, and some of the benefits that you mentioned earlier, I mean, they tend to have a little bit more healthier lifestyle.
Absolutely. Live longer.
Live longer. And it sounds like they can afford to live longer because they got good
I think it's all
paying
related.
jobs.
I think basically you get the better jobs, you get the better health care.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, there's
So
some real
a lot
payoff.
of very positive benefits, and I think the community college system is a great option for people to explore, whether high school, military, or just somebody who isn't sure of where they want to go. You just can't beat it. And I think there was a statistic that we maybe touched on a little bit, but you can get that education a lot more economically through the community college system
Right.
than you can
Yeah,
straight.
and I guess that would be, if I had a final message, do not assume you cannot afford to come. Come
That's-
talk to us. We will find a way
We'll
to make
figure it
sure
out.
that you can get there.
That's very good. Well, that sounds very promising and very motivational. So if there's anybody in the audience that is looking for where they want to head with life, heading out to the community college system, the one nearest you, or going online and checking it out at, what's that website again?
www.hawaii.edu.
That's the one. All right. Well, this is Reg Baker, Business in Hawaii. We broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock. We're a show talking about positive stories about business in Hawaii. Today, we talked a little bit about the community college system and how they can impact our community and our workforce here locally, all leading to success, both financially as well as life success. So please tune in next week. That's Thursday at 2 o'clock for Business in Hawaii with Reg Baker. Aloha.